In the hearts of Iranian diaspora, a fervent love for our homeland propels a deep desire to contribute to not only Iran's prosperity, but also the world's future. And this is Iran's future. Many of us representing the silent aspirations of our compatriots inside the country who, due to fear of persecution, cannot express their yearning for freedom, embarked on a journey to see Iran liberated. And as grim as that may seem, we are amongst the lucky ones. For most people, adulthood in Iran comes as a sobering reminder that they live in a country in which justice is perpetually unbalanced against their gender, their ethnicity, and the God they worship. A place where aspirations are silenced by gender apartheid, as my dear friend Elika mentioned. It is a country where you're considered a Muslim with obligations rather than a citizen with rights. A country ruled by a government where even the act of giving this very talk could cost us our lives. Yet in this same nation, in this very same nation, the force of the Iranian people has been transformed into a powerful weapon, a beacon of resistance, a revolution we call woman, life, freedom, and it extends far beyond the borders of Iran. What on the surface looked like a protest against compulsory hijab and bodily autonomy in the woman, life, freedom movement was an outcry against 4 decades of institutionalized oppression of justice, economic hardship, and systematic violations of human rights. And it succeeded, and it persists, and it shall remain in existence till it succeeds on the very day of freedom because of its inclusivity. Forging a remarkably inclusive movement, Iranians not only bridge divides between men and women, but also built alliances with ethnic minorities, religious, LGBTQ+, and the powerful international community and the Iranian diaspora outside the country. They have given us hope. Their grassroots engagement, building a powerful and adaptable and progressive platform, utilizing social media and citizen journalism to balance the divide between individual responsibility and collective action. Non-violent civil disobedience at its best, because it's both symbolic and strategic. And this remarkable inclusivity has forged an unmatched unity amongst people within and beyond Iran, and it's time for the international community to pay attention. Because it is not only a fight for the equality of women, it is a fight for our Baha'i brothers and sisters who are deprived of university education, denied proper burial of their deceased family members. It is a fight for tens and thousands of Iranians, Jews, Christian converts, and atheists who have faced imprisonment, execution, and confiscation of their property. It is a fight for every Sunni Muslim who believes in the freedom of choice, because how can you for fact infer someone's a true believer if they have no choice in choosing otherwise? It is a fight for a diaspora of displaced refugees who should be making Iran proud today. And yet, they will forever, until the day of freedom, long for a home. This is a fight for freedom of expression, for journalists to be able to write and work from home instead of prisons, for rappers to receive awards rather than jail sentences, for teachers to be able to teach the truth instead of being forced to disseminate propaganda. It is a fight to build schools in Iran, not to destroy them in Syria. It is a fight to end funding and training for extremism of Hamas and Hezbollah, and forge a new chapter for regional peace, for Iran and for the world. It is a fight to end the largest state sponsor of terrorism. It is for our Afghanistani brothers and sisters who denied citizenship, property, and financial rights, even if they're born in Iran. It is a battle against child labor amid severe poverty crisis affecting 15% of the Iranian child population. who are forced to work in dangerous and unsanitary circumstances, deprived of essential educational opportunities. This is to save Samira Sabzian, who faces death penalty for fighting to break the chains of her childhood marriage. It is a fight for the disillusioned and disenfranchised ethnic enclaves, religious minorities, and the LGBTQ+ community who are systematically targeted by the regime. And so here we are, all of us, here to tell you that this is not just a revolution in Iran. Iranians are not just fighting against a dictatorship, they're rising against an entire coalition of autocratic and oppressive regimes. Iranians have circumvented every oppressive measure and continue to expose the regime propaganda. They have converted social media into a collective action tool, encouraging and disseminating citizen journalism and emboldening a nation of ordinary people who, in their very protests, arrests, detentions, and resilient spirit, educate the world. With one hashtag, 2 words, Mahsa Amini, over 400 million times just so we could hear them. And still, the regime's access to international forums drowns out the voices of the Iranians inside Iran. The regime has long shielded itself from accountability on the global stage. For over 4 decades, Islamic Republic authorities have routinely denied, distorted, and outright dismissed overwhelming evidence of gross human rights violations that occur in Iran, instead going on the offensive against critics with false counter-accusations intended to divert and derail urgent discussions as at United Nations, as Nazanin Jan put. The hashtag Women Life Freedom movement, the hashtag Women Life Freedom has a full syllabus, and I'm so proud to say this, on civil disobedience. Everyone should click on it. It helps us and the world remember. It compels us to reject numbness as a form of healing and remain vigilant against manipulative tactics of those who suppress the truth. You see, dictators, they rely on our forgetfulness to maintain control. But the hashtag we will not forgive and we will not forget not only resonates deeply in the collective memory, but it is an archive of stories that keep our heroes alive and the public vigilant, because this is a fight for those beating hearts who want it to be more than just a hashtag. And yet the regime misuses the UN global forums to delegitimize human rights values. But the regime doesn't always win, and as a result of global advocacy, Islamic Republic of Iran was the first country to be voted out of the UN Commission on Status of Women. However, Iranians need consistency at the United Nations and other global bodies. As we witness young Iranians continually defy the authority of a broken system, refusing to wear hijab even though the consequences could potentially change the entirety of their lives, in the face of mounting evidence of sexual violence against political male and female detainees, ongoing executions, including that of children, systematic violations of ethnic and minority rights, Iran is appointed to chair the 2023 Social Forum. Isn't that a shame? At a time when forms are broken, institutions do not make sense, and governments lead with violence, Iranian men and women have modeled and advanced what it looks like when we rise to the best of our humanity. Womanhood in Iran has given life to the most progressive, inclusive, unifying, evolutionary level revolution of freedom that transcends borders and boundaries. It's a renaissance the world should listen to. Susan Sontag says, at the center of our moral life, our moral imagination, are great models of resistance, the great stories of those who have said no. No, I will not serve. The action of those heroic resistances will not topple a power hell-bent on repression. It simply declares enough. So isn't it time for the United Nations, the international community, world leaders to find their enough, to find their no against the Islamic Republic regime?